Tooth and Nail is the fourth full-length album from Krakow, Poland-based death metal band Dormant Ordeal. Now, we could qualify the subgenre here with technical death metal, blackened death metal. They're definitely a Polish death metal band at heart, and one that formed quite a long time ago by way of their original drummer, Radek Kowal, back in 2005. He put out a couple of demos by himself and eventually brought in a bunch of other members several years later who put out a more official promo tape that featured full lineup. Their sound was initially compared quite strongly to Decapitated of the time, and that's kind of what followed on the first record. It was an interesting technical death metal record in the Polish blackened death metal style, and to me it didn't stand out at the time, but it was still a strong record. Nothing wrong with it at all, and it had strong performances throughout. It was just a bit standard. The band became quite a lot more interesting on the grand scheme of things. Their third full-length album was really the most exciting release from the band to date. It was the one that introduced a lot of new blackened death metal ideas, and just maybe a little bit more of a declarative style. It took influence from a certain era of Ulcerate, and that stood out to me at the time. There was an interesting sort of paradigm of the lyrics being very strong and the music being above standard that kept it pretty interesting. And the band had kind of finished their initial evolution from that point, and interestingly enough, the founding member left in 2023, and the main guitarist continued on, and that is Maciej, however you'd pronounce his name. And what he's done is fully kind of composed and curated this fourth record with the vocalist following him, and then a session drummer, Jason Westmoreland, who plays in Cambion, I think most notably for my taste, as well as some deathcore and technical blackened death metal bands otherwise. It's a good fit in terms of the drummer. He's very skilled, and that really helps the eruptive nature of this music to really stand out. I think the general mood of it is quite dark, though, and well, you'll get the sense from this clip. So I couldn't help but notice and feel that there was a somber and anxietous feeling infused into this record. It didn't feel like they were just chopping through tech death that was bemoaned. It was just, there's a certain level of anxious dread flowing through this record, and despite it being pretty straightforward in some of its motions, it's highly technical at the same time. So the combination of the strong anxious feeling and the high level of skill is not alien to technical death metal, and what makes this stand out is it's still a little bit of those ringing lead guitar tones and the interplay between the guitarist and the drummer that we could attribute to the previous album to some degree, but this is a much more focused record. They don't really slow down as often. They really crush through the whole thing, and it is extremely dramatic and violent as it all erupts through. There's still that maudlin heavy tone to it that makes it feel like there's kind of an emotional impetus to it, conflict being the obvious suggestion in the themes. And I found it's just a very strong death metal record in a technical death metal style of a certain niche, and for me that's something that I like quite a bit. I would say that I think I preferred the previous album in terms of variation, but this one is leagues ahead in terms of its performance and technical range, and just generally sparking up a lot more interest throughout. So what we trade in variety, we get in charisma, is essentially my take. And that's something that I enjoyed naturally. I think the art design is quite strong. The sound design is a little crispy, but still very strong. And overall, I had a modest connection with this record. I wouldn't say that I really got it. I probably need the lyric sheet to fully, really get into it. But for what it's worth, I had a great time with this record. I think it is striking. It stands out in the month's releases, and just something that's worth checking out if you're a fan of technical death metal in general and odd variations off the beaten path. So check it out for yourself. It released today on April 18th. Go ahead and read my written review, if you will, to get more details on what I thought of it.
The